Oh shit. How do I? Oh, I'm good. This is my first time ever seeing myself live on YouTube like this. What? Crazy, 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 crazy. Now, if I was to do this, does it text in all chats? I think so. I gotta switch between chats, sending messages to all. Oh, it did send messages to all. We are Gucci. Gucci, like it's never been. I ain't gonna cap. I got a little bit of rant today, Echo, bro. Niggas banned me off TikTok for what? What the fuck I get banned for? I ain't do shit. Oh, I didn't mean to curse so much. I don't know. It's YouTube shit. We gonna see though. I made me a whole new TikTok account. And watch this JJK video. And yeah. See how shit going. Yo, what's good, Living Noise? How you doing, twin? Bro, they real life banned me off TikTok. So my ass had to hit the multi-stream on them. I ain't gonna cap. I had to make a new account too. Shit, that ass pissed me off. My mic is in the air. Probably can't even hear me. I just peed. Shit really pissed me off. Chat and interview. New JJK chapter. Go live. This is my first time going live on this new account. So
I never really anticipated for the future of JJK. See, because outside of the fact that we just got episode 4 of season 3 of JJK, where Maki cuts down the entirety of the Zenin clan with her newly developed heavenly restrictions, but at the exact same time, in the continuation of JJK's manga story in Majulo's chapter 20, which just leaked, 68 whole years later, heavenly restrictions are still proven to be apparently very useful, but then again, maybe not as useful as being able to dole out black flashes at will, and apparently launched.
I only seen the leaks to this chapter, but when Yuji fucking hit the black flash and the whole entire city got fucked up, oh my god.
Heavenly restrictions are back in a way that I never really anticipated for the future of JJK. See, because outside of the fact that we just got episode 4 of season 3 of JJK, where Maki cuts down the entirety of the Zenin clan with her newly developed heavenly restriction, but at the exact same time, in the continuation of JJK's manga story in Majulo's chapter 20, which just leaked, 68 whole years later, heavenly restrictions are still proven to be apparently very useful, but then again, maybe not as useful as being able to dole out black flashes at will, and apparently launched
this nigga, bro, oh my god, this nigga Yuji really said black flash.
Tools that level entire cities. See, because, well, yes, we did get a peek into what Tsurugi is able to do at the peak of his heavenly restricted powers in chapter 20 of Majulo. We also got to see what I can only imagine is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you.
Give me 1 second. I gotta make sure this chat is not delayed. Yeah, it's not delayed. We're Gucci. Oh, but I'm fried. Y'all can't even see the video.
G's current power level is, which is insane. See, because if there was any doubts amongst the readers or those living in the Majulo universe that Yuji Itadori was not still the strongest sorcerer on Earth, boy oh boy does chapter 20 put those doubts to rest. I know we've been talking pretty hyperbolically about all of the feats that we've seen in Majulo up until this moment, like Dabura moving at the fastest speed we've ever seen, while he fights against what is probably the strongest iteration of Mahoraga we've ever seen. But I'm telling you right now, without an ounce of uncertainty in my heart, the feats that we see from Yuji Itadori, the main character of a manga that took place 70 years ago in this universe, are the most impressive we've ever seen in the JJK universe. We're talking one-shotting Sukuna level impressive. All that is to say that there is a ridiculous amount to dive into
maybe like
with this new chapter of
10-figure Sukuna.
And therefore,
I'm not too sure about
let's head directly into chapter 20.
Maybe like a 10-finger Sukuna Yuji could fuck up.
Of Majulo review. But before we get to reviewing anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you guys are looking for one additional Nick video every single week, you guys can go ahead and find my Naruto reaction series using the fourth wall link in my description below.
What's
still doing Toads. Been on Toads for a while. And the reason we've been on Toads for a while is because I've been on the road for a while, and I'm actually skipping a week, but I'm going to be doing a double episode next week when I'm home. I'm back in Hong Kong for like 12 hours, and then I'm flying to Vancouver, and then I'm going skiing, and then I'm back home February 7th. Then I'm gonna do a double episode of Naruto, and we're gonna get back in there. So chapter 20 picks up directly where chapter 19 left off. That is to say that Yuji and Mino are still standing at the bottom of the office building that Yuji just blasted all the windows out with a huge barrage of blood. However, apparently the volley of blood arrows that he launched into the buildings, not only into the human sorcerers, but also into the Cimmerians, didn't knock out everyone. Well, yes, the intention from Yuji's very complicated piercing blood was to knock out both the humans and the Cimmerians to ensure that they wouldn't fight against each other and worsen the relationship between the aliens and the humans. The long-haired Cimmerian, whose name we've been refusing to learn and have just been calling Kurt Cobain, you know, the one who's been leading the charge of Cimmeria's battle against humanity. Well, while Mino's yelling at Yuji, he flies out of the center of the building with a gigantic battle axe. But even with the momentum of his fall and his muscles...
Yo, niggas was saying he was using cleave right here. How the fuck he gonna use cleave but it don't cut up the axe?
Rippling as he tries to deliver a fatal blow into Yuji's skull. Yuji, with one hand still in his pocket, reaches up with his other hand and stops the axe with just his finger. And as Kurt Cobain realizes that his most powerful overheaded axe attack didn't even reach Yuji's palm, he begins to panic as he monitors
Yo, he's doing the Kaneki shit when Kaneki used to crack his fingers. Oh my god.
Yuji's cursed energy, but he notices something. And what he notices is that Yuji's aura has turned into that of a Kalyan, which is just what the Cimmerians, who don't believe that there's a difference between the Kalyan, their religious entities, and the cursed spirits, basically call cursed spirits. Kalyans and cursed spirits are not the same thing. Kalyan have physical bodies, cursed spirits do not. However, because for some reason the death of cursed spirits causes the members of the Luma tribe to cry from the third eye, a lot of the members of the Luma...
So would the death of Jujutsu sorcerers make the third eye cry?
Tribe, especially the warriors like Kurt Cobain, believe that cursed spirits are Kalyan. Anyways, as Yuji holds onto Kurt Cobain's axe, he extends his other hand and begins to feed cursed energy to it. As he says aloud, "You look pretty durable." And as he envelops his left hand in cursed energy, Mino watches on in complete awe as he revels at Yuji's ability to apply cursed energy to his fist with no delay whatsoever. Absolute precision. And as Mino is blown away by Yuji's efficiency in the application of cursed energy, Yuji looks up at Kurt Cobain, who he's still holding up by the tip of his own axe, and says, "He'll probably be fine," as he, without even turning his hips, delivers a black flash into the chest of the Kurt Cobain.
Nah. To this day, bro, I ain't gonna cap. Dude, JJK might be one of my favorite animes. I ain't gonna cap. It's up there with One Piece. JJK might be in my top 3.
Cimmerian,
if you don't count like High School DxD and shit, I ain't gonna cap.
Launching him back as he bounces off multiple buildings. And as he ping-pongs his way down an entire city block, Yuji simply says, "You won't die from that, right?" Now, outside of the fact that this is very much just fan service for Yuji or farming all over one of the most annoying characters in the story, this moment right here confirms a suspicion that many people have had for a long time. See, obviously, previously to this moment, the highest level of combat ability we've ever seen from Yuji happened during his battle against Sukuna. Now, in the JJK universe, that was almost 70 years ago, and Yuji is effectively not aged a day. So Yuji's not only been able to hone his craft, that is say his combat ability, but also hasn't lost any power due to getting older. This is why people like Chozo, who are about the closest genetic match that we're gonna get to somebody like Yuji, was able to become a special grade cursed spirit and the best blood manipulation user we ever saw. Because Chozo had 150 years to work on his blood manipulation techniques, which allowed for him to create things like Supernova. And thus, seemingly over the course of the last 70 years or so, Yuji has been practicing his cursed energy application. Now, that's incredibly fitting for Yuji. See, because in the very, very beginning of JJK, a sneaky advantage that Yuji had in combat was actually how bad he was at applying cursed energy to his attacks. See, because Yuji was actually so inefficient at applying cursed energy to his attacks in the very beginning of JJK, one of the advantages he had in combat was the fact that after he hit somebody, there would be a delayed effect of his cursed energy getting to his target. And thus, effectively, Yuji had double strike. However, Mino staring...
Why did TikTok have to ban me? Now I basically gotta restart, bro. Like, what the fuck?
At Yuji being able to apply cursed energy to his fist
Shit dead ass,
instantaneously
bro.
implies
trying
that
not
he
to
no
get pissed
longer
off.
has
That
those
shit's
issues,
genuinely
which
annoying.
makes sense. He's supposed to be the strongest sorcerer on Earth, and he's been kicking cursed spirit butt for 70 plus years now. However, more so than a drastic increase in his ability to control cursed energy, Yuji is also very obviously displaying the fact that he can now use Black Flash seemingly on command. See, because, well, yes, we've seen Yuji do things like land 8 Black Flashes in a row against Sukuna, and therefore a lot of people believe that Yuji's innate technique was Black Flash. Black Flash isn't an innate technique. It is a hyper-specific application of cursed energy at the exact right moment. See, Black Flash only happens when cursed energy is applied to a physical hit within 0.000001 seconds. That is to say, like 6 zeros in a 1 after I come into physical contact with somebody else's body. If I apply cursed energy in that moment in time, I land a Black Flash, which is essentially a distortion in space that greatly amplifies my physical power. And now, seemingly because Yuji has gotten so good at the application and usage of cursed energy, he's able to hit Black Flashes really whenever he wants to, especially seemingly if he's fighting somebody massively below his skill and power level. Now we then cut to Kurt Cobain, who's been blasted a county over, and see that while he is alive, he is very much unconscious. However, because Yuji can't be shown to be taking sides in this battle between humans and Cimmerians, he, without even looking at Mino, fires a blast of converged blood at him, which not only scrapes his face, but also creates a shockwave that attacks his inner eardrum.
I ain't gonna cap, bro. Like, do I have any manga websites, anime websites off the top of my dome? Nah, I don't think I do. Bro, I ain't gonna cap. I wanna watch some anime now, bro. This shit got
causing him to lose his equilibrium and buckle over. Now, obviously, none of the human sorcerers involved in this conflict against the Cimmerian aliens are really excited about the strongest sorcerer on Earth amongst humanity not choosing sides here. If there's one person you don't want playing Switzerland, it's Yuji Itadori. However, Yuji continues on with his neutral standpoint, and therefore by telling Mino to essentially tell the ruling class of human sorcerers, the sorcerers that he knocked out, both the humans.
Wait, this bitch look familiar. Is she a Cimmerian? She look like that girl. She look like that girl. Kenjaku raised.
And the Cimmerians should be okay if they get 2 to 3 days of bed rest. And honestly, that's kind of crazy. Yuji, when faced with a battle against like 9 opponents, took them out from like a half a mile away through a building so bad that they need 3 days bed rest to recover. And I get it. Sorcerers have gotten weaker. Yuji's gotten stronger. But mind you, he did that using a technique that he basically did not use in his main story. But anyways, even though Mino's been shooken by Yuji's attack, still has enough energy to scream at him. Covered in sweat and on his knees, Mino screams at Yuji and says, what the hell are you doing? Because you didn't help. Yuka's out there fighting for her life. But it's this point that we get a real look into what's become of Yuji in the 70 years since we last saw him. And the answer is
I don't like how they like they're making him like emo, like his eyes is all whitened out and shit. I don't like that. Like it don't look like Yuji. But we gonna see when that nigga take off his hoodie. I ain't gonna cap.
What's become of Yuji in the 70 years since we last saw him? And the answer is nihilistic. But I guess when you're stuck in the body of a 17-year-old boy and you've watched everybody you know and love slowly age and die around you, that kind of thing is prone to happen. See, because even though Mino is sitting there trying to chastise Yuji for allowing Yuka to fight in a battle to her hypothetical death, Yuji simply tells Mino that he doesn't care. And he continues on in a kind of fourth wall breaky way where he says, haven't we had enough of Yuji Itadori? And like, obviously,
I seen a TikTok, bro. Gojo dropped that same bar. He was like, haven't we had enough of Gojo Satoru? And I was like, yo, damn. This nigga Yuji deadass became the strongest, bro. Like, niggas had him on fraud watching his own anime because he wasn't doing shit. Then I ain't gonna cap, he packed Sukuna up, like, easily in the last, once he unlocked his the dismantle, he packed Sukuna up like it was nothing. But I ain't gonna cap, like, if you could. Oh, the delay is crazy. But if you could do a soul splitting world cut or dismantle, bro, you're OP, bro. You could just cut and the soul is cut. There's nothing, bro. Nobody could beat that.
About here is that he can't be the sole defender of Japan forever. At some point, other people have to pick up the slack. The next generation has to fight their own battles. Yuji, well, Yuji's tired, but at the same time, in a more fourth wall breaking kind of way, there's a lot of fans out there that would love for Yuji to swing in and save the day, and defeat Dabura and Maru all in one fell swoop. But in a kind of genius way, Gege is using the in-universe events to tell these fans, you had 300 chapters of Yuji, and well, let's be real, he's not all that present in those 300 chapters. The universe has moved beyond Yuji, and while he may still be there, he's no longer the main character. It's time to allow the stage lights to fall onto other actors.
Yo, I know I'm pausing a lot, and I'm probably just yapping to myself, but yo, that's literally like, what's the word? Fate? Fate is literally in Jujutsu Kaisen because of cursed energy. Like, that's why whenever Tengen needs to merge with the human, with the plasma vessel, a 6-eye user is born, because Fate needs a 6-eye user to protect the plasma vessel to get towards Tengen. They literally said that in the anime. So it was just like, yo, damn, he's right, bro. Yuji was blessed by the sparks of black during his time, but it's a whole new generation now.
Mino doesn't understand what Yuji's trying to say. He asks him, what are you saying? And thus Yuji continues on by saying, you know, they say old soldiers never die. They just fade away. So don't worry, I'll take care of all of the cursed spirits that spill out of Tokyo, and if Senpai's granddaughter does end up losing, I'll clean up that mess as well. And with these two statements, Yuji's making some pretty crazy claims, basically telling Mino, I can take care of literally every cursed spirit that tries to spill out of Tokyo, and also somehow if Dabura defeats Mahoraga, don't worry, I can defeat Dabura rather easily. And consider the fact that we've seen Dabura kill every cursed spirit that tries to spill out of Tokyo, and also somehow if Dabura defeats Mahoraga, don't worry, I can defeat Dabura rather easily. And consider the fact that we've seen Dabura kill Mahoraga no less than a dozen times. My light.
This nigga light just fall?
And consider the fact that we've seen Dabura kill Mahoraga no less than a dozen times. My light fell, and Dabura is currently pulling off the most impressive speed feats we've seen out of any JJK character ever. It's kind of crazy to assume that somehow Yuji is still out of Dabura's ballpark. I mean, the dude's got light-based drop kicks, the kind of things that I've stated would be able to kill Sukuna, and yet Yuji doesn't even deem him to be a threat. And honestly, based off what we see from Yuji a little bit later in this chapter, these claims aren't ridiculous. But Yuji continues on by saying, right now, what I'm going to focus on doing is making sure that nobody interrupts those two. Well, actually, I guess those four. And this is kind of a cool moment from Yuji that really solidifies the fact that he's not taking sides in this whole debacle. See, because, well, yes, Yuji says if Yuka dies and Mahoraga is defeated, I'll go over there and kill Dabura to ensure that humanity's survival is guaranteed, by saying I want to make sure that nobody interrupts those four. Yuji acknowledges that all four people fighting, that being Maru, Dabura, Yuka, and Tsurugi, are all fighting for their own worlds, or fighting for what they believe to be the common good. And I think it's kind of cool to see Yuji, who's dedicated the majority of his life to protecting Japan in a thankless job that is being a sorcerer, now finally kind of take a hands-off approach. See, because this is one of the biggest talking points in JJK, that sorcerers like Geto and Gojo and Nanami would all struggle in dark alleys in battles against cursed spirits that the humans that they were protecting would never know about. And while Yuji, when he was a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed 17-year-old, didn't necessarily understand this doom and gloom mentality from the older sorcerers, it's very interesting to see how his mentality has changed over the course of almost a century of life. But as Yuji walks away from Mino, Mino screams at him that he'll never forget him, nor forgive him, which makes Yuji laugh as he walks away and says, good, I get lonely sometimes. It's nice to know he'll be thinking about me. And as Yuji walks away, we see his face as he stares off into the distance and thinks, this is how it should be. That's right, Sensei? Clearly asking the question to Gojo, who passed on the responsibility of defeating Sukuna and defending Japan to Yuji. And while the passing of that torch moment came via Gojo's death, in the lead up to the battle against Sukuna, Gojo prepared all of his students, Yuta, Yuji, everybody, for the possibility that they may have to be the people to take out Sukuna. And thus, in a way, Yuji is doing the exact same thing right now by entrusting Yuka and Tsurugi to take on their generation's biggest threat. Now, it's at this point that we cut away from Yuji to Dabura and Mahoraga. And we see that once again, Dabura's doing a Mahoraga better than Mahoraga could ever hope to. 2 as Dabura is rapidly advancing and adapting in combat with Maharaga to get massively.
Yo, geniuses that adapt in fights are low-key better than Maharaga, because Maharaga has to wait for his wheel to adapt. I mean, to turn and adapt. Wow, most geniuses, they just dead-ass fight. Dead-ass.
More powerful. See, because for those of you who don't remember, in the last chapter, after Dabura landed a near light speed kick on Maharaga's face, a kick that almost eviscerated the entirety of Maharaga, Dabura thought back about how the Sorcerers of Earth had offered to heal Cross after he had been shot down by a human sorcerer, which made Dabura come to the realization that human cursed energy can be used to heal. That, paired with the positive energy that Dabura had felt resonating off Maharaga's sword of extermination, allowed for Dabura to figure out how to.
Dabura's a fucking goat, bro. The way this nigga just make nukes out of like light speed punches is crazy.
Times negative energy by negative energy.
They're doing the same thing niggas did in Boruto. You had to, cause niggas was getting too strong, so you had to like tone it down to regular punches. But those punches could destroy planets.
Positive energy and heal is destroyed leg. But now Dabura is taking the application of positive energy one step further. See, because, well, yes, Dabura acknowledges when we cut back to him that positive energy allows for him to heal his body at a drastic rate. He also begins to wonder about what would happen if he poured this positive energy into a cursed technique. And I know what some of you are thinking, wait, no, Nick, how do you use positive energy for a cursed technique? Aren't cursed techniques inherently supposed to be negative energy? And the answer to that is no. And Gege realizes that a couple of you probably don't remember how this process works, and therefore as Dabura begins to build out a ball of dark light, he asks Maharaga, who doesn't talk, hey, what's this technique called on Earth? And as if to answer the question for Maharaga, the narrator then kicks in at this moment and says a new option enters the fray. Curse Technique Reversal. And with it, Dabura reclaims his path to victory against Maharaga.
I forgot about
what's Curse Technique Reversal? Good question. Exactly what it sounds like. By pouring positive energy into a curse technique that you already have, you're able to make a version of that curse technique that does the exact opposite thing that your curse technique usually does. The best and most well-known application of Curse Technique Reversal is Gojo's red and blue. Gojo's blue attracts things, and it's also why he's able to use it to teleport, while Gojo's Curse Technique Reversal red blows things away with an explosive force. So it stands to reason, considering the fact that the only curse.
Why did he drop this video on 720 quality? We're in 2026. What the fuck?
Curse technique we've seen from Dabura is some kind of light-based beam that a curse technique reversal application of that curse technique will probably have something to do with like dark matter or black holes or maybe just like black light. I personally hope it's not some kind of black hole technique because that's just what Yuki had. Like that's just star rage, it's just artificial mass, and she was able to create enough artificial mass that it basically made a mini black hole. But if I had to say honestly, what is the opposite of a light-based curse technique? I don't know. Black hole or darkness or shadows would probably be my best answer. However, regardless of what the technique actually does, it's being physically displayed to be the opposite of Dabura's regular curse technique, which is a light-based technique, by being an orb of darkness that he's controlling. Now, any kind of curse technique reversal is going to be incredibly advantageous for Dabura in this battle against Maharaga. See, because while Maharaga has adapted to Dabura's innate technique, his light-based technique, Maharaga has not adapted to his curse technique reversal in the same way that Maharaga had to adapt to not only Gojo's blue, but also his red and his purple and his infinite void. Tie that into the fact that any curse technique reversal was also going to be built out of positive energy, and the fact that Maharaga as a Shikigami is made entirely out of cursed energy, that is to say, negative energy. And while Maharaga itself does use a sort of extermination, which is focused around positive energy and has a.
Yo, I feel like I'm in an infinite void right now. This nigga's giving me too much information.
Ridiculous healing factor, which also focuses around positive energy. Positive energy is especially useful against cursed spirits and Shikigami, something that Maharaga knows, which is why it has the sort of extermination and uses positive energy in the first place. And therefore, yes, Dabura has reclaimed his path to victory against Maharaga. And as he makes this orb of black light, he thinks to himself that with his next attack, he has to wipe out Maharaga entirely to ensure that he can't adapt. However, before this curse technique reversal can be launched, we cut back to Tsurugi and Maul. And the two of them are still launching a barrage of punches and kicks at each other, and a close quarter combat duel to the death.
Bro, I love how animes like time shit. this shit's going on in the manga, and there's also the Maki shit going on in the anime right
Over
now.
while Saruki may have the
They
upper
just
hand in
timed
terms
shit
of
so
physical
perfectly.
prowess, Maru still has his chaos and control curse technique, which allows for Maru to make the warm air ice in the industrial park filled with growing roots, all things that Maru tries to use to take out Tsurugi. But even though Maru is able to encase the majority of Saruka's body in ice, Saruka's sheer curse energy output allows for him to break out of it with ease. And after shattering the ice that's encased him as Maru closes in to try and land a kill shot, Tsurugi creates some distance between the two of them by launching ice shards at Maru at high speed. But it's at this moment that things get real interesting. See, because remember earlier when I said that heavenly restrictions were real back in? I'm starting to think that these chapters of Majula are very specifically being released in coordination with certain events that are happening in the JJK anime.
Yo, I just said that.
Right now, because Tsurugi, after he makes a little distance between him and Maru, says Rika-san, and then most likely telepathically communicates something with her that she, in response to, out loud says, okay. I like that you're a little bit mean. At which point Tsuruka strikes the ground with her palm and begins to grab something out of her shadow. And
This threw me. I was like, how? I was like, the fuck? First of all, first one got destroyed. I think Gojo destroyed it. Or some shit. When he killed Toji. Then the second one, I don't remember what happened to that one. But I know Maki had it. She probably gave it to him? But how the fuck he pull it out the ground?
from her shadow, she pulls the split soul katana.
Yo, Rika's her, bro. I just peeked. She used Megumi's technique, the shadow shit.
And from her shadow,
That's
she
probably how she
pulls
did it.
the split soul katana. Now, for those of you who don't remember what the split soul katana is, that's kind of impressive considering
What's good, Albina? I'm chilling.
The fact that-
I'm watching the new JJK Modula chapter review right now. I ain't gonna cap. I'm an anime geek. I be doing that.
it is literally reintroduced in episode 4 of season 3 of JJK, which just came out. But the split soul katana was a katana that was used by Toji originally. However, the iteration that Maki has
Do I play any games? I be playing Warzone. I be playing Roblox. I be playing Minecraft. Shit like that. But it's early. It's 2:00. I don't really. Hell yeah, some good ass games. I don't really feel it. Not feel like. And your stream is kind of my suggestion, so I decided to join you and have some fun. Hey, I appreciate it. Twitch is actually suggesting me. I never thought I would hear that before in my life, bro. Twitch don't suggest nobody to nobody. Like I'm trying something new today, and I'm multi-streaming on everything because I got banned on TikTok.
is actually a replica of the split soul katana made by Mai
from New
as
York.
her last parting gift to Maki. Very specifically, Mai made this split soul katana so Maki could use it
Appreciate
to
the
eradicate
follow.
the Zenin clan. And because the split soul katana has this funny little ability to bypass all conventional durability and directly slice the soul of anybody who's cut by it. So it's
What are you gonna ask me? Are you gonna ask me to buy something?
ridiculously broken. Now, Nick, how do you know this is Maki's split soul katana and not Toji's? I don't, but it'd be a whole lot more thematically appropriate if Tsurugi asked Rika to pull up the sword of the woman who ended
Guess what? You're getting banned.
up marrying the man that Rika was in love with. Now, as to how Rika was able to pull the split soul katana out of her shadow, I can't super say. We know that Rika has some control over shadow-based abilities. We've seen her appear in the shadows of people multiple times, like she did with Yuji at the beginning of season 3. Now, so far as I can recall, we've never seen her use time. Hold the split soul sword of the woman who ended up marrying the man that Rika was in love with. Now, as to how Rika was able to pull the split soul katana out of her shadow, I can't super say. We know that Rika has some control over shadow-based abilities. We've seen her appear in the shadows of people multiple times, like she did with Yuji at the beginning of season 3. Now, so far as I can recall, we've never seen her use her shadow to store anything, but considering the blending of the Zenin blood with Yuta's blood, and therefore, I guess, kind of Rika's blood, more like Rika's cursed energy, and how the 10 Shadows technique very much allows for you to store things in your shadows, this combination of Tsurugi and Rika being able to store the split soul katana in their Shadow is not all that surprising. And also, like I said, I could just not be remembering the times when Rika's pulled things out of her shadows, because like we've already established, Rika does have some like shadow-based abilities. But anyways, after Tsurugi pulls out the Split Soul Katana to use in battle against Maru, Rika tells him,
you took a copy curse techniques, right? Why didn't he just copy like Gojo's? There's probably a restriction. Oh, Rika had to eat a part of it. She had to eat a part of it. That's why. Okay, I remember now. She had to eat some shit. Cause could have just took Megumi's and spawned Maharaga. Well, Maharaga was getting fucked up regardless, but shit. Nigga like me gonna throw out Maharaga.
him to just swing with everything he's got, and she'll put her power behind his swings. But as Tsurugi loads up a huge swing with the Split Soul Katana, Maru actually turns away from him, looking off into the distance, because off in the distance is rising a wave.
Do you see that? Wait, go back. Do you see that shit? Oh my god.
Put her power behind his swings. But as Tsurugi loads up a huge swing with the Split Soul Katana, Maru actually turns away from him, looking off into the distance.
That could have been Yuji that did that.
Off in the distance is rising a wave of cursed spirits. See, a tsunami of cursed spirits is currently hurtling their way towards Maru.
Never mind, I'm fraud. Maru's curse technique was to turn directions of the city. He basically has control over like direction, or was it gravity? It was some shit. So they're technically upside down.
And Tsurugi. And while Maru, in the most logical deep center of his soul, understands that these cursed spirits are different from the Kalyan of Smiria, a part of him is still drawn towards these cursed spirits, and thus he turns his back to Tsurugi. Now, it's this point that Maru thinks to himself, no, they started migrating over here out of fear of Dabura. And this, kind of like the Split Soul Katana, is a topic that we've seen come up recently in the JJK anime. See, because in the JJK anime, when Oji, who is Maki and Mai's father, throws them into the Zenin penalty room, he lets them know that this room is filled with grade 2 and lower cursed spirits. And while those cursed spirits might be cowering away right now out of fear of him once he left, they would come out to eat them. And thus, that's exactly what's happening right now in Tokyo. Dabura and Maharaga are releasing so much power on the other side of the city that all the cursed spirits in the abandoned zone of Tokyo have begun to flood their way towards Tsurugi and Maru. Now, if you'll remember from last chapter, the human sorcerers augmented the barrier around Tokyo to try and funnel all of the cursed spirits in Tokyo towards the ocean, so they could continue with some kind of great purge of the cursed spirits now that the strongest fighters amongst the Sumerians were occupied fighting against Yuka and Tsurugi. However, seemingly that plan's not working at all, and thus we cut to Yuji, who says aloud, uh-oh, doesn't seem as though they're being redirected at all. And thus he thinks to himself, they probably underestimated how many cursed spirits were inside of Tokyo now that they've had to miss a great purge or two. And thus Yuji once again aloud says, well, guess it can't be helped since this is a first after all. And we see him point 2 fingers towards the wave of cursed spirits. And upon pointing those 2 fingers, he utters one word. One word he knows quite well. Dismantle. And all the while, Saruka are loading up a massive swing at Maru with their Split Soul Katana, and thus at the exact same time, Yuji fires off a Dismantle, which fires across the city of Tokyo like a laser beam fired from Chozo's hands to wipe out every single one of the cursed spirits. All the while, Saruka unleashes a devastating slash with the Split Soul Katana. We then pan out over the abandoned city of Tokyo to see the fallout of these 2 attacks, and they are easily the 2 biggest and most powerful attacks we have ever seen in JJK. Now, the high water point we use and most powerful attacks we have ever seen in JJK. Now, the high water point we used for the biggest attack we ever saw in JJK, that is to say JJK, like...
Biggest attack we've seen in JJK is either a hollow purple or the world cutting slash.
Actual JJK, not Majulo, was Sukuna's final domain expansion, a 200-meter wide circle of thermobaric explosion. In all of JJK, that singular attack is by far and away the most offensively devastating. Sukuna is, and always will be, the strongest character from JJK, and that binding vow laden domain expansion was the strongest attack we ever saw from Sukuna, and thus the high watermark for AP in the JJK universe was being able to completely decimate an area in 200 meters in all directions. And while that is crazy powerful, relative to a lot of the things we've seen in Majula, it's getting massively overshadowed. See, not only because we've seen things from Dabura, like him being able to fire light-based projectiles or get his body up to relative speeds, but also we've seen several attacks now with explosive radii much larger than that of Sukuna's strongest ever domain expansion. And both this attack from Tsuruka and this dismantle, not even a cleave, a dismantle, the weaker of Sukuna's 2 slashing attacks, have much larger explosive radii than the strongest attack we ever saw from Sukuna, with both of these attacks happening simultaneously, almost destroying the entirety of Tokyo, not just a neighborhood, the entirety of Tokyo. See, the battle—
that whole entire shit Tokyo? God damn.
Of Tokyo, not just a neighborhood, the entirety of Tokyo. See, the battle between Gojo and Sukuna left a fair portion of Shinjuku destroyed. The Shibuya incident left a slightly smaller portion of Shibuya destroyed. However, both of these attacks are very clearly shown destroying several neighborhoods in Tokyo simultaneously. We are talking 5 to 10 times more explosive power than Sukuna's thermobaric domain expansion.
Mind you, all that nigga did was dismantle.
And considering the fact that Yuji did not say a chant, didn't need to load up any kind of power, and only used the dismantle, that means we are not looking at the peak of his power. I mean, we still don't even know what his domain expansion does. However, after seeing this ridiculous display of power that allowed for him to essentially eradicate all of the cursed spirits in Tokyo with one attack, him claiming that he'd be able to clean up Yuka's mess if she lost, it doesn't sound like he was lying at all. We then, after this crazy unleashing of offensive force, flashback to Maru and Tsurugi, as Maru is being crippled by the amount of tears running down from his third eye as they gush out of it.
Wait, there were so many of them. The Black Flash is too big. Oh, Backlash. I'm fried. Backlash.
His forehead as the pain sears into his brain as he screams that too many of them just died and that the backlash is too large. See, because remember, even though cursed spirits and Kalyans are not the same thing, for some reason, Sumerians, specifically those of the Lumer tribe, experience the same pain in their brain and the tears running down from their third eye that they experience when a Kalyan dies when a cursed spirit dies. However, Tsurugi decides this is a fantastic time to take down Maru once and for all, as he lunges at Maru with the split soul katana, but Maru gets a rock in front of him to block the attack, leading to Tsurugi's blow.
It makes no fucking sense. It's a fucking split soul katana.
Shallow. And thus Maru is able to regain his footing as he redraws his sword and tells Tsurugi he's ending it all right here. But before the two can cross blades one final time, we see Tsurugi thank Rika as the mask he was wearing of Rika's clatters down to the ground as she tells the grandchild of the man she loves, good luck. Now this confuses Maru.
Yo, could she be going to his sister? Because the ring originally, Rika was originally for the sister. Because, like, if you just know JJK, you know, bro. You could love this granddaughter, bro.
True, as it makes no sense to him that Tsurugi would choose this moment to undo his transformation, and he notices that Tsurugi's cursed energy is shrinking. But we see on the next page, before Maru's even able to react, that Tsurugi has closed the distance between the two of them. And as Maru stares down at Tsurugi in abject horror, he realizes that Tsurugi's gotten even faster than he was when he was bound to Rika, because now he's letting go of his power. And in the last panel of the last page of this chapter, we see a blood splatter all over a no U-turn sign, as if to say, this is the point of no return. Now, some of you are probably wondering, Nick, what happened here? And honestly, like I said earlier, I genuinely believe that the Majula chapter events are being planned around exactly what's happening in the anime right now. See, because in the same way that Mai had to die in order for Maki to reach the truest heights of her heavenly restriction, on account of the fact that identical twins are viewed as the same person in the eyes of Jujutsu, and therefore so long as Mai had a little bit of cursed energy, Maki would always be considered to have a little bit of cursed energy, even if it wasn't hers, and therefore Maki wouldn't be able to reach the true heights of heavenly restriction that she wanted to, that would put her in the realm of Toji Zenin's level of strength. And what I believe we just saw happen.
Yeah, but what?
Now,
that nigga's not a twin.
in chapter 20 was the separation of Tsurugi from Rika's cursed energy. So even though it was Yuka who was originally gifted Yuta's ring, and therefore Yuka who was supposed to have the connection to Rika, because Tsurugi was the eldest and deemed to be the strongest by the Gojo clan, he was given the fairly heirloom of the Yuta's ring. However, I believe Rika's mask falling off Tsurugi is a symbolic representation of the end of their relationship. See, an important detail about this chapter is that Rika was able to access her own shadow to pull out the split soul katana. That is to say that in some way or another, Rika has the ability to tap into the 10 Shadows pocket dimension. The 10 Shadows pocket dimension that Yuka is currently lifelessly floating in a state of suspended death until either Maharaga or Dabura is defeated. However, if Tsurugi and Rika have now been symbolically split, which has allowed for Tsurugi to rid himself of all cursed energy whatsoever, achieving full heavenly restriction, it seems as though it wouldn't be ridiculous to assume that Rika's gonna be popping into the Shadow Universe to go pull up the other half of Yuta's offspring. And consider the fact that Rika's reverse curse technique allowed for Yuta to survive brain surgery twice, I don't think a couple of tumors in Yuka's brain is gonna be too big of an issue for Rika. But then again, what do
That nigga Yuta deadass was a brain and went into Gojo's brain and body and took over it. Battled Sukuna. Lost. Hop back to his body.
I know. It's just my job to talk about JJK properties. What do you guys think is going to be coming up in these next couple of chapters? Do you believe Rika's going to head over to you?
I ain't gonna cap. This nigga's a goat. Sukuna is worth 1 to 2 Yuji fingers now. Nah, that's that ass funny. Yuji now completely understands how Nanri felt about Jujutsu Society. Both are Yuji literally slashes Maru after the explosion was made. What? That makes no sense. If Mahito is found to be the behind things, Yuji would just be the first to drop everything and leave things to the next generation and be hunting his ass. Wait. A new One Piece chapter dropped? Like, I didn't want this. This is gonna be fuck it. It's an anime stream.
Oh, great and mighty warriors of Elbaf! Heed my call. Please make this One Piece chapter the most glorious of all time. I beseech thee.
Week, bro.
There's geography! It has been done. I thank you, great warriors. Any One Piece chapter that has a copious amount of maps in it is already an amazing One Piece chapter. But if you have a large map right in the middle of the chapter, a big double-page spread map, oh man, that's greatest of all time right there. I don't care. Luffy turning Gear 5th, yeah, that was a cool chapter, but did it have a map in it? Zoro's nothing happened scene would have been way cooler if there was a map to show exactly where Zoro was standing on Thriller Bark. Oh man, this will be One Piece chapter 1172 titled The Elbaf That I Admire. Yes, the Elbaf I admire. It's the one where Usopp does things. That's the one that I admire. This one's good too, but like, if we could get one where Usopp's doing stuff, that would be nice, right? Actually, I think the title, it really does refer to something that Usopp says in this chapter, so we'll circle back to that. But first, we got the cover page, and the cover page is just a fan request. It's just an art request that Oda got from somebody named Pizza Maru. But this one was a really big one, because if you've been following along, I read the spoilers for these before they come out, and the spoilers for this one is, the cover request includes Mr. 2 Bon Clay, and it was clearly labeled as, this is not a cover story, this is not Bon Clay's crazy impel down escape adventure. It was just a cover request of Bon Clay trying on some cosmetics with some swans in the background also putting on some cosmetics. That's it, it's a nice cover request. I saw so many things being posted all over social media like, Bon Clay is back in the story, ladies and gentlemen, he is finally returned. And it's like, I'm sitting there kind of laughing because it's like, it's cool to see him again. Oda puts him right there.
It's a decent chapter, but I don't think it's enough to watch on live. I ain't gonna cap. I'm finna go take a shit. I did my little live for the day. I ain't gonna cap. That JJK chapter though, beautiful. I think I might be a JJK dick sucker. That shit was so tough. No cap. But yeah, I'm off this bitch. 35 minutes. 35? That's crazy. That's one of my lucky numbers. I'm gonna try to keep it at that. 35. Let's try to get 35, 35. Oh no, why does it say 45 down there? Where did I see 35? See, now my lucky number's cooked.